Because you have to remember, in animation, normally objects, okay, objects are performing actions such as moving to left or moving to right or moving up, moving down. So basically those are the concepts of animation, right? So when we go with animation, let me just share my screen so that you will see what I'm saying. Animation has this, okay, either move to left, right, move to top, or bottom, okay. So basically these are the animation. Then also we have collision, okay, meaning collision means bumping, okay, so two objects bumps together. Another one is object may roll or the object may bounce, right? So basically these are the movements in animation that you have to at least you should know the basics. If you will be able to understand the concepts of moving object to left, right, top, or bottom, then you know the basics of animation. And then if you know how to do collision, like what we have done with physics, if you remember last time, when the object collides with another object, either it should break or disintegrate, or it should bounce, as we see it in the bottom, or the object should roll. Correct? So if you remember in our past discussion, you demonstrated the ability to perform all of these things. So animation, you demonstrated this using the box. If you remember the box, you were able to move the box, right, from X, Y, Z. So you were able to demonstrate it. And in the collision or bumping, you were able to demonstrate it by learning the physics, right? Object physics in Blender. So you know how to do it. And for the rolling animation, we have done it yesterday, correct? So this time, I think this will be the last for the animation part, bouncing. So how do we do bouncing? How do we bounce objects? So let me just check those who finished. So with the help of God, we finished this last time. Also this one we finished last time. Also this one we finished. So today you will be trying to go with bouncing. Okay? So bouncing is somewhat similar to the concepts of the movements of this. You have to combine everything for enable for you to do the bouncing. Okay, so as the object bounce, it could move to top or bottom, right? So it's for bouncing. It moves from top to bottom, or the object might collide or bump with another object, which is the surface, and the object may roll as it bounces, correct? So the concepts first of bouncing. Okay, so we have the ball here. If you will see it in my screen. So at time frame 0, the object is on top and it bounces, right? It bounces. So we have the timeline here. So 0, 10, 20, 30. So we have the bouncing of the object on the specific timings. So this also for a tennis ball. So depending on how you perceive or how you design your bouncing, it could be like this or like this. So if you will see, as you go on the higher bounds, what happens to the time frame? Time frame becomes wider, right? Time frame are wide, correct? So as you go with the smaller bounds, the time frame becomes smaller. So if you will see on the first bounce, 0 to 15, right? So time frame 15. So this takes 15 frames or time frames to reach the ground here. Then after bouncing, it has to go back with the next one, which is 24. 24 minus 15, what's the difference here? This is around how much? 24 and 15. This is around how much? 9, right? 9, correct? So it's 9. The difference here is 9. And the difference from here to here is 15, right? So this is 0 plus 15 is 15. And then 15 to 24, 24 minus 15 will give you 9, right? So if you will notice, 33 minus 24 is how much? Is also 9, correct? From here to here, it becomes 7. Have you noticed the difference becomes 7? And here also becomes 7. And you will notice as we go through these, this bouncing, the time frame becomes smaller, right? It becomes smaller. And if you will see at the end, from frame 90 to 100, the ball starts to roll. So this you can combine. And if you will notice, I suggest during the animation you have to make a guide. So we have to make a guideline like this. So that we could be able to balance the arrangement of the curve, right? Yeah, so we have the curve like this. Okay. So why it keeps on coming like this? Control Z. Okay, like this. So we could do something like this, so that when we go with the drawing, you can arrange the curves. Okay? I can move the curves like this, so the object can move freely from one place to another. So we can do something like this as we go with the guide. Okay, so we will be using this as our guideline for the timings. Okay, I hope you could follow me with this. Okay? Go with the blender. Okay, so let's start with the beginning. I have two blender open. Let me go with this. So from the preparation, so the first step you need to go is you have to switch from default mode to the animation mode. Okay, from here go to animation mode, this one. So you will see lines like this, okay, for the preparation phase. And then delete the cube as per the step here. Delete the cube and replace it with UV sphere. Just delete this. So you should replace it with UV sphere by pressing Shift A. You have two options. Or you can go with the bottom screen, click the add menu, and go to mesh and then UV sphere. Here, go to mesh and go to UV sphere. This is it. Okay? Then the next step, do the succeeding steps in the camera view by pressing 0. Okay, so go with 0. You can move it here so that you have a bigger view of the screen. You can zoom it like this. Okay, and then the next step is scale sphere to 0.5 using the right property palette. So you can, is my spelling for palette correct? It's not correct. Okay, so you can activate the right palette by pressing N key. Okay, so this is my blender. Press N key, it will open this. And then it says you have to scale it to 0.5. So we have to scale it here, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Then I have to scale it to 0.5. Okay. So after this, fix the initial position of the ball. Okay, putting emphasis on y-axis. Set the y-axis to 0. Okay, so you can go with here the y-axis to 0. It's fine. So you have to remember we're trying to fix the position of the y here. Okay, because we only, since it's a bouncing ball like this. Let me just open the whiteboard that we are using in this class. So this. So we only change the z, okay, and the x. Okay, so y is fixed. We don't change the value of y. That's why we have to press it with 0. Because when the ball is bouncing, what is only changing is the value of z here and the value of x here. Okay, the value of y we don't change. Okay, that's why we have to ensure that y is always at 0. So going back here, it is safe for you to move this. I suggest you have to use the arrow keys. The red one represents the x, and the blue one represents the z, right? So let me just note it in here. Okay. Let me just write in here. It is ideal to move the ball using the arrows. Okay. So x, what color is the x? I told you earlier. X is red and blue is z. X, red, and blue, and z is blue arrow. Okay, let me just note it in here so that you will know later. Okay, so that we won't change the value of y, because if you're going to move the ball by clicking the ball and move it like this, there is a big chance that the y location will change. So instead, just go with the x here and move the z up. Okay, so this one. Okay, so you can position it this way. But before you do this, let's try to duplicate the ball. Okay, so optional, add another UV sphere to denote the final position of the ball after bouncing and rolling. So it's better to copy it. So Control C, Control V, and you can move this one. Okay, so you can move the ball. So this is the position of the ball after rolling. So you will see now in my camera view I have the two balls. Okay, this is the beginning, the initial position, and this is the last position. Later we will delete this. Okay, don't you worry, we will delete this later. Let me just put a note in here. Okay, so when the animation is done, delete the other UV sphere. Okay, so this one, so you can now change back to this one, to the upper position. Okay, let's now proceed to the part 1, sketching the path of the ball. Okay, so from the camera view we have to switch the front view by pressing 1 in the numpad. Okay, for us to be able to access the grease pencil. So from the camera view we have to switch to front view by pressing 1. So I'll press 1. So I will now see this. Okay, so when I press 0, this may camera view. Okay, so this will be taken by the camera. Okay, so let's press 1, okay, for you to see this. So if you will see the ball, the last ball is not on the plane, right? Correct. So you should adjust this, see to it it has to lie on the Z axis properly. Maybe Z is 0.5. Oh, no, sorry, not here, not here. In the position of Z, you can make it 0.5 to lay it on the ground. Okay, the last position, so that you will just know this is the last position. Okay, so let me just put it in here. Okay, let me just put another note here. Make sure that the ball touches the ground by setting Z position to 0.5. Okay, so just save it. Let me just save my work, not to lose it. File, save as. Let me copy this as let me bring it here. Bouncing ball, bouncing, or bouncing ball, 2, because I have another bouncing ball here. So save the file. Okay, so the next step. So if the property palette is not activated, press N to activate it. Okay, and then go to the portion for grease pencil. So grease pencil, you have to check it. If not checked, please check it as per the instruction here. Okay, and then click the new button with the plus sign, this one. Okay, so it says G pencil. Then create a new layer. So the new layer will enable us to hide and show the sketch later. Okay, when you want to animate, you can hide this one later, the new layer. So press new layer. So you will create a new layer now. Okay, so which you can hide later with this eye here. So if you want to hide it later, you can do so. Okay, next it says in here, create a new layer. We have done it. Press T to enable the left property palette. Okay, and then select the grease pencil tab. Press T. Okay, this one. And then go to grease pencil palette. Tab this. Click it. This time we can hide this one by pressing N, and we can move it a little bit here so that we could see what we're doing here. Okay, so press T to enable the left property palette. Select grease pencil tab. In the stroke placement category, you have to select cursor. Okay, this is very important. You have to select cursor on this one. This, see to it, this one is checked. Okay, under scene, under stroke placement category, you have to select cursor. Okay, so let's now try to draw the path by selecting the appropriate tool in the draw category. Okay, we will do it later. Make sure that the timeline is set to 0. So see to it the timeline is set to 0, so type 0 here. Okay, so we're now on the timeline 0. So meaning on timeline 0 the ball is on the top, then it will bounce down. Okay, like this, it will bounce like this. Okay, so let's see. Okay, it will bounce like this. So let's try to follow this animation that we have in this one. Okay, let's just have to recall this. At time 0 the ball is on top, and then on time 15 it bounced down, on time 24 it bounced up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so if you will see, when the ball goes down, the value of x changes, right? When the ball bounces up, that the value of z and x changes, right? So both of the value of x and z, they change as time goes by, but the value of y remains the same. Y is always 0. Okay, so let's follow this. So 0, 10, 20, 30 timeline, so 15, 33, 47. So we will follow this one. Okay, so go back to 1, then you have to draw a line. Me, I prefer doing the line. So let me just again minimize it so that we could get plenty of space for this, for the cursor. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen clearly. So let's proceed to the next step. Let's draw the outline. I'll go with the line, then I'll do like this up to that. Okay, so I will just try to simulate this one. So I made a line like this up to here. Okay, so just want to follow this, and then let's try to make triangles. Triangle, 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 triangle. Okay, so if you will see, there will be triangles here being made. Okay, and the triangle starts to become small as time goes by. Okay, so let's try to draw the triangles in here. So if you will see on in the example here, the first triangle is here, right? This one. Imaginarily we have a triangle like this, right? So let's try to follow it here. So I'll use a line, draw it like this, then I go with another line and draw it like that, another line, draw it like this, another line, draw it like that, another line, do it like this, another line, do it like that, then another line, do it like this. Okay, so something like this, and then from this time up to this time the ball will roll. Okay, so we'll be doing how many bouncing? Bounce down, bounce, bounce back, bounce back, bounce back. So these movements we will be using as the example. So from this point up to this point the ball should roll. Okay, so this will be the scenario that we're going to make for this example. So the next step now that you need to do, you have to add the keyframe. Okay, so in the keyframing you have to add the key for every angle. Make sure that y-axis is always at 0 position so that our bouncing is not wiggling. Okay, it's not wiggling, it's bouncing regularly, or else it will wiggle if the value of y is also changing. So only x and z should change in this scenario. So make note of this. When the object ball touches the ground, make sure that the value of z is always 0.5. Okay, whenever the ball touches the ground, the value of z should be always at 0.5. Okay, so again, take note of this. Whenever you move the ball, use the arrows instead. Okay, So do not drag the ball. So you know how to add the keyframes, right? So I don't have to elaborate it for you. We just have to do it frame by frame. So in this position, the ball is here. So when we see the camera view, it should be like this. This is the camera view of the sketch. Okay, bounce, 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 and roll here. So in this initial position, as per the outline here, okay, let me just put a note here. I think it's better if I copy this, right? This object here. Let me copy this and put it in the Control C. Let me put it in the Microsoft Word so that we could use it as a reference later. So follow the diagram below as a guide. Not this. Why it's giving me a different I think it's in my folder. Let me just open my folder, go with visual effects and 3D animation. Let me go with the for this version, lab practices, bouncing ball. Let me get this not this, maybe the other one. Yes, this. So let me just get this, copy this one and paste it here so that you will use it as a reference later. So we will be using this as a guide. Or else you have to calculate your own. So at time 0, the ball is on the top. So you just have to follow it. Time 0, this one. So press N to get this one. So press T to hide it. Okay. So click this one and then go to location and right click and insert keyframe. Okay, so we're now on this position. Next, based on the diagram, this one will touch it in time frame 15. Okay, time frame 15. So you have to go to 15 here. Okay, 15. So I'll be here on the 15. And then move this down, this object. Okay, better to move it here. Then move it down. So let me just use the magnifier so that you will see what I'm doing. Okay, this one. So as we mentioned earlier in the manual, when the ball bounces, you have to ensure that Z is always 0.5. So going back to this blender, so since the ball touches the ground, I have to check the Z here. Z should be 0.5. 0.5. Okay, this one. Enter key. Okay, so it's 0.5. So after this, you have to make again a keyframe for this. As you have seen here in this positioning at 15, we have to make the keyframe here. So right click and then insert keyframe. Okay, so we have the keyframe. So when you go with the 0, this one, you will see it's like this. So if you will go with the animation, go back, it goes in there. When you play it, it's in there, right? Okay, so the animation will give us view like this. Let me just do the okay. So when you go with the animation, it will be like that, right? Okay, good. So proceed to the next step. Stop the animation, go back. So click this one to move time frame 15. So going back to 1 to see what we are doing. Zoom it a bit so that you will see where are we. Okay, so next we need to we need to move the ball on the next position. on the next angle. So based on this diagram, at time 24 the ball should be on top, time 24. So I have to type here 24, then I have to drag the ball up and then go to this one, y at time 24. See to it that this point here is exactly on the corner, okay, like that. So this is point this is a time 24, so you could now add a keyframe here, okay. So y should always be 0, okay. Right click, insert keyframe. Next, based on the diagram, it should be on a time 33. It should bounce down as it should fall down, I mean, at time 33. So go to your Blender, type here 33, Control Z, type 33 to move to 33. And then you have to move. Okay, better to type here, type the Z here as 0.5, and then move the ball here on the X like this. Okay, so like this one. And then you have to add the keyframe here, insert keyframe. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, so it's now bouncing like that. Next, we can go with the next frame. So this frame is 33, right? So this is frame 33. So we can go with frame 40. Okay, frame 40. Let's type frame 40 here. So at frame 40, the ball should be here, right, on this portion. So in this case, we could drag like this and move like that and see to it that the point is here. And then insert keyframe. And then based on the diagram, on time 47, the ball should go down. Time 47. At time 47. Okay, so the ball should go down here. So I have to change the Z into 0.5, then move my X to the right, like this, then make a keyframe on that. Insert a keyframe. Then next, based on this one, which timeline are we? This is timeline 47, so let's go with timeline 53, right? Timeline 53, which is this on top. So let me type 53 here. So on timeline 53, the ball should be somewhere here. Okay. Right click it like this. Insert keyframes. Okay. Then on timeline 59, the ball is in the ground. Timeline 59. So let me type 59 here. Then let me change the value of Z to 0.5 to touch the ground, and then move the X here. And from there, let me add a keyframe. Insert keyframes. So to view the animation, it should be like this. Okay, so the ball is like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then we have to roll it later on here. So let's try to see the animation in the camera view. Let's see what happens when the ball bounces. Okay, so you see the ball now is bouncing like this. Okay. Okay. So actually you can change if you think the bouncing is not convincing enough, then you can change the positioning from each frame. Let's say for example in this frame you want the ball here instead, right? So this is frame, which frame is that? Frame 15, I guess, right? On frame 15, no, on frame 24, on frame 24 here. So go to 24. So if you're not happy with this, you can change this one here on the top. Instead, you can put it in the top and then replace keyframes. Okay, if you're not happy with the bouncing. So same with this. Which keyframe is this? I think it's 40. Keyframe 40, let's see. Yeah. So if you're not happy, you can drag it up. Okay, and then move a little bit here. Then replace the keyframe. Okay. And same with I think this, what frame is this? 55. 55 or 53? It's keyframe 53. Yes, keyframe 53. So I'm here. So I could replace it if I'm not happy with it. Could change it with this one. And then replace keyframe. And then try to check if there will be changes. Yeah, it's realistic, right? It's realistic than the first one. Okay. So let me just put a note here so that we could okay. Okay, okay. It is ideal that the base of the ball should be placed on the top of the angle, on the tip of the angle, to make realistic bouncing, okay? So when you go with 0, sorry, let me go back with this one, 0. So when you play it, yeah, so you will see the bouncing is realistic than this one. Okay, so go back with 1, stop. Okay, let me just go with timeline 0. Okay, so if you will see when we bounce the ball, you will see something like this, right? Yeah, like that. Okay, so we can now add extra features. Okay, because usually if you will see the movement of the ball is edged, right? It's edged. It's not that realistic. So actually when the ball bounces, it should follow this principle, right, as indicated in the diagram. It should be like curves like this. It should be curvy like that. So there is another technique you're going to write. So let's see part this is part 3. Let me write here part 3. Converting angles to vectors. Okay. So you'll try to convert the angles into vectors. So if you look at the animation here, let me just hide this one by pressing N. So if you will look at the animation here, what have you seen with the objects here? What have you seen with the timeline? What have you seen with the timeline here? It's not that wavy, right? So it's not that wavy. So it's we need to convert some of the portion into something like a vector. So we could do that. So go back with the first frame. So we convert every line. So this one we have to convert it into this timeline here, which is timeline 15 into vector. Okay, so you go here convert that one into vector, you can zoom this. Okay, zoom. Okay, you have to zoom this one. Okay, so on the dope sheet summary window, let me just write in here. Step 19. So select the frame where the ball touches the ground. Okay. Okay. Convert this into vector. Okay. Vector. By pressing V. Try to do it. So this timeline 15, press V, then you will see vector. It says vector here. Okay, then select a vector. So automatically this one will be converted into a vector. So okay, good. And then same, this one, this frame here, which is frame 33, click it or go here. It's the same, press V, then vector. Then same with this one here at the bottom, just this, frame 47, then press V, convert it to vector. Okay, so when you go with the animation, you will see a slight realistic bouncing, right? Have you noticed that? You see, yeah, so the bouncing is realistic as compared to the one. You will see really the ball is really bouncing compared to the other one that we did earlier. Okay, so in this case you can do the bouncing like this and then roll the ball to the right later. So to hide this grease pencil here, to hide this, you can go with the palette here and check this eye to hide it. So you can now do the animation without the grease pencil, the sketches. Okay, like that. So go to 0, camera view, try to run it, and you will see how the ball bounced, right? Then we can do the animation here later on. Okay, so you can do the rotation later on. You have to remember, whenever you want to activate a screen, you have to click the screen first and then press whatever key you want to press. Okay, so if you want to do something here, click this one first and then press V. If you want to move here, then press 1 or 0. Okay, you have to press the window first because these are treated to be separate windows. If you want to go with 0 here, then you have to press the timeline first, then press any key that you want. I guess I am done with the manual here. Any question? We will go with the other sample. We will replace this with the real ball. Okay, save this one. So let's try to do the ball that we modeled last time. We will apply the same thing, the bouncing of the ball, but this time we will be using the actual ball that we have used last meeting. Okay, for the second example. Let me just close this, or I'll just go to the recent one. Let me go with the ball blend. It says cannot read, not such file or directory. Okay, let me just close. Let me just file open. Let me go with my with my folder. Let me go with my MC Lectures, Visual Effects 3D Animation. Let me go with for this version, lab practices. Let me go with the ball modeling. Let me open this. Okay, this one. So let me save it as, let me go with Visual Effects again here. Let me go with lectures. Let me go with Visual Effects. I'll go with for this version lab practices. Let me go with bouncing ball. Let me just write in here bouncing ball plus rolling. Bouncing, 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 and rolling ball. We will do the combination, okay? So save as Blender file. Okay, so I have this ball here. If you remember the ball that we are using last time. So I'm currently on the edit mode. I'll go with the object mode to disable the editing of the faces. Okay, so you will see this one. So likewise, I have to rotate this, right? So I have to rotate it. Last time, if you remember, which direction I'm going to rotate this? Rotate X or Y. Rotate X or Y. Escape. R, Y. Yes, so I rotate it with the Y axis. So let me go with the 0 view. Escape first. Let me go with the 0 view first, the camera view. Then I will rotate it to Y or to X. Sorry. Rotate X. So I have to rotate it with the X axis. So I'll see like this, the one we did last time, right? Like that. So let me scale the ball. Press N. So click this. Let me scale the ball to, what was the scale we used in the example? The value, scale the ball into 0.5. Yes, thank you. So we have to scale it to 0.5. Okay. So let me move the ball here. Let me ensure that my X, my Y is always 0. Okay. Then let me copy the ball, Control C, Control V. Then let me move it here at the end. So this is the end position of the ball. Okay, so this will be the thing. Then we want the ball to rotate later. Okay. Excuse me. So I'll press 1. I'll press 1 to go to the front view. Okay, this is the front view. Okay. So let me click this ball to ensure that the Z axis is 0.5. Control Z. Sorry. Not the rotation. I'm always making mistake on this. Location is 0.5. Okay, up. So go with 0 again to see the positioning of this ball. Let's move the ball up here. Okay, so if you want to move it's one here, no problem. Still. Okay. Yeah, like this. So the ball will bounce like that and up to here. So if you want to move this ball in this position, no problem. Okay. So press with 1. Go back. Now let's go with the grease pencil. So same steps, just press new layer, then you have the grease here. So for now we don't need this. Press N, go with T, okay, and then go with grease pencil. See to it it's in the cursor mode. Draw a line from this point, okay, from this point up to that point. Okay, and you can now start doing the drawing for the bouncing. Okay, so draw the line from here to here to here, to here, to here, to here, and to here. And then the ball will roll here. Okay, so this will be our thing that we're going to make for this example. So we are on, let's go with timeline 0. So let's try to change the position of this ball. Timeline 0. Okay, let's press N, click the ball, then add, insert keyframe here. Then using the guide here at time 15, okay, time 15, we have to animate the ball. At time 15, Z should be 0.5. And let's have to move it on the X here. Okay. Then right click, insert keyframe. Then let's go with the next timeline, which is 24. Type 24 here. Then change the position of the ball. At time 24, and then create a keyframe in that. Insert a keyframe. Then next time 33. So let's set Z to 0.5. Then let's move it here to Y. Okay, and then create a keyframe there. Then on timeline 40, right? Timeline 40. So the ball should move here. Move it up like this, and then make an animation there, a keyframe I mean. Then at time 40, according to this, we have 47, keyframe 47, timeline 47 I mean. So we have to write 0.5 here. Now let's move the ball here. Okay, then make a keyframe, insert keyframe. Then timeline, after 47 we have timeline 53. Type 53 here, and then move the ball up. Okay, then insert keyframe here. Then from 53 we have 59. So type 59 here. Then make Z to 0.5, and then move it here, and then create keyframe. So try to watch the animation. Okay, so it's like this. So let's convert all of this. Let's just try to do this one. Let's play it. Okay, if you will see, it's not realistic. The bouncing is not realistic. Let's convert each vertices into. So let's go with the one. Let's go with timeline here, which is this one, right? Timeline 15. So press V here to convert it to vector. Then this timeline, which is this 33. Press V, then vector. Then this timeline here. Sorry, timeline. Which timeline is that? Down, up, down. This is finished already, right? And then this one here. vector timeline, this one here, press V, vector here, and lastly this one. No need to do the vector here, okay, because it's not bouncing anymore. Only those bouncing sequences you have to make vectors. So yeah, so it's realistic now. The bouncing is realistic. Okay, good. So let's go with the camera view. Go back in there, run it, bounce, 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 bounce. Okay, so let's now do the rolling portion. So from this point up to this point we have to do the rolling. What was the formula for rolling, if you remember? Rotation equals distance divided by radius, correct? That's the rolling, correct? If you remember. Do you still remember it?
Radius, doctor, or radians?
Rotation in radians equals distance divided by radius, correct?
Yes, yes, correct.
Correct. So we could do the rotation here. Let me just zoom it out. So this ball should go to this position, right? This one to this position, correct? That's why we have this ball. So let's calculate the distance first. Click this ball, press N. So the location of the X is 0.45. Let me just note it here. So we have the ball somewhere here. Let me just throw a ball. Let me just get the ball. It's all set. Let me just get the ball from Bing. Okay. So this one, the position of this is what? Based on this, the position of the X is 0.45. So this is 0.45 for the X, right? Okay, this one. And then the position of the next ball, the duplicate that we made, this one is at 4.78. 4.78. 4.78 is the distance of X. X. So what is the difference between the two? From here up to here, what's the difference? So you can go with the calculator. .78 minus which one? 0.45, right? We'll get 4.33. So the distance here is distance D is equals to 4.43. But how about the radius of the ball? How do we get the radius of the ball? This one, right? The radius of the ball is 0.99, right? Or 1, correct? So let's write 1. So the radius of the ball, R, equals 1. Therefore, rotation in radian should be what? 4.43 divided by which one? 1, right? So it means that our rotations will be 4.43. Correct? Good. So we have to take this as our value now.
Doctor, this is 4.33.
4 point? This one?
I think.
This is 33?
Yes.
Okay. So this is 33. This one should also be 33, right?
Yes.
And this one should be 4.33 also. Very good. So if you remember, the last step that we made last time, you have to go to which side? Units, right? Let's change this to from angle to radians. So we can now change the distance. So this is fine. At 33 the ball is here. So it has to roll here, right? To this position. So at which time the ball should roll here? So you can go with the reference here. So at which frame you want the ball to roll? From time 1:30, right? From time 1:30. No, that's not 1:30. Which time is this? This one. Which time is this? 60, right? So let me move it up. So which time is this? Time 33, I guess, right? So let me just hide this tool here. Let me go with the animation pane. So this is time 33, I guess. 50 something. Let me just check. Time 59, right? At time 59, this one. So which the next time based on this? Time 59, the next time should be 69, right? So at time 69, the ball should be in this position, right? So what's the position of this? This is 4.78 and 0.5, 4.78. So you could just copy this one, 4.78, just to type 4.78 here, 4.78, okay, that one. Then right click, insert keyframe, right? But before you have to go with the keyframe, then rotation should be made here. Okay, so let's try to replace the keyframe of 59 because the ball is not rotating here, right? In this, it only moved. So we have to add the rotation here. Okay, this one is fine. We have the location, bounce down. But we have to add a keyframe of rotation. So we have to insert a keyframe here for the rotation. It means the ball starts rotating in this portion until it reaches this. So which is time, which time is this? Timeline, which timeline is that? 69, right? So at time 69, the ball should be in this position, which is 4.78, 0.478, right? This ball should be at the 4.078. This one should be 4.78. So it should be in there. And the rotation should be, the rotation should have been 4.33. So the ball should have rotated in the y-axis. This one, rotation 4.33. 4.33. Okay, should have rotated that way. And then add the keyframe. Insert keyframes. Insert keyframes. So we have two keyframes here. Okay, so go back. It should bounce, 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 roll. But it's very fast, right? So you could change the timeline if you want, no problem for that. So stop it. Let me hide the grease pencil, go to camera view, run the animation, bounce, 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 roll. But the rolling is very fast. So I think we have to change the timeline here. Okay, so we have to delete this timeline because it's too fast. If you will see, the rolling is too fast. Bounce, 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 fast. Okay, so bounce, 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 roll fast. Rolling is very fast. But if you want it, it's fine. But if you want it to be dramatic, let's say you want the rolling to be very long, then you can remove this timeline here, which is 59. Then you can delete the keyframe. Delete also the keyframe. Okay, so go back. So let's try to change it to keyframe 90. Or let's see the direction here. So the next possible one is 90 or 89. Let's make it 90 to be realistic. 90. Replace keyframes. And then the rotation should be 4 point which one? Rotation should be 4.33 in the y-axis. So 4 point rotation should be 4 point at y-axis. So insert replace keyframe here. Let's see what happens next. Bounce, 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 roll. That's it. Okay, so let's try to delete now this ball because it's not useful anymore. Delete this. So try to run the animation. Bounce, 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 roll. It's finished. So bounce, 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 roll. Thank you so much for today. I hope to see you tomorrow for another session. I think we'll be having another session tomorrow. And thank you so much for your time for attending this today's class. Thank you so much and masalam.